workers.
Mr. Mayor, this is an election year for Governor Hochul in the legislature. We already have a situation where the governor said, I don't want to raise taxes on millionaires. And this morning she said she doesn't support property tax hikes. I wonder if we have a situation where this is a clash between ideology and reality, and if faced with the fact that you won't get those taxes from Albany, would you really raise property taxes here in New York City?
This is not a conversation on the basis of ideology. This is a conversation about a fiscal crisis. I have long believed in the importance of taxing the rich. I've said so publicly many a time. And I've long believed in the need for the state and the city's relationship to be a fair one. What we are speaking about in this moment, however, is not just that long-standing belief, the long-standing issues that have characterized that relationship, but a generational fiscal crisis of $5.4 billion. And when faced with this crisis, the question is who should pay these taxes? I believe that it should be the wealthiest New Yorkers, the most profitable corporations. I believe that they can afford to pay a little bit more. We are in the most expensive city in the United States of America. I firmly believe in the need to make this an affordable city. I believe that we do so and reckon with structural crises by pursuing the first path, one of raising taxes on the richest New Yorkers, the most profitable corporations, and ending the drain.
Would you really, when push comes to shove, raise the property taxes?
I do not want to raise property taxes. I have said time and time again that it is a broken system, one that we are sincerely looking to reform, which is why we're going to be sending up a proposed piece of legislation in the next few weeks. What I am showcasing to New Yorkers is that there is one tax the city can raise. It is a broken property tax system. We do not want to do so, which is why we have said time and again that we want to work with Albany to ensure that we resolve this fiscal crisis by addressing the structural roots of it. Thank you, Marcia.
Today on 45th Perspective, we're taking a closer look at a recent hearing in the United States Senate, where lawmakers pressed federal officials on how they're navigating a mix of budget pressures, policy mandates, and public expectations. This hearing covered everything from agency spending priorities to questions about whether current federal strategies are really addressing the economic challenges ordinary Americans are feeling. Before we dive into all of that, take a moment to like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy thoughtful, in-depth political analysis. And if you want to help support the work we do here, you can head over to patreon.com/45thperspective. Now let's talk about what unfolded in this hearing. Right from the start, senators made it clear that they were approaching the discussion with very different concerns. Lawmakers in the majority framed the conversation around accountability. Their focus was largely on how agencies are spending the money they've been allocated and whether they're adapting their operations quickly enough to meet real-world needs. They pointed to rising costs, delays in certain programs, and inconsistencies in reporting as evidence that more oversight might be necessary. The underlying theme was that taxpayers deserve clarity, especially when the government is operating under tighter financial conditions. On the other side, members of the minority argued that many of the issues being raised stemmed not from mismanagement but from years of underfunding and shifting priorities. They pushed back on the idea that oversight alone can resolve operational challenges. Instead, they emphasized that agencies are being asked to do more with less, and the result is a patchwork response that can look inefficient even when people inside those agencies are doing everything they can. Their message was that you can't demand strong outcomes while simultaneously starving the system of stable financial support. Throughout the hearing, the tone shifted depending on who was asking the questions. Some senators took a confrontational approach, pressing for yes or no answers and suggesting that vague explanations were signs of deeper problems. Others tried to tease out the historical context, how long-term funding patterns, unexpected crises, and regulatory challenges have shaped the situation agencies find themselves in today. What I found interesting was that both parties were, in their own way, trying to address public frustration, even if they disagreed on what exactly the source of that frustration is. From a factual standpoint, the officials testifying did acknowledge that certain programs are facing real strain. They pointed to increased demand for services, higher operating costs, and ongoing hiring challenges as major contributors. At the same time, they defended their decision-making, arguing that many of the problems senators were highlighting were ultimately the result of structural issues that can't be fixed with quick adjustments or short-term directives. They stressed the importance of long-term planning and stable funding cycles, which, to be fair, is something experts across the political spectrum have echoed in the past. My own reaction is that both sides made points worth taking seriously. Calls for transparency are not only valid, they're necessary. Any agency that relies on public money should be able to explain how that money is used and why. But it's also true that no amount of oversight can substitute for adequate resources. If agencies are consistently underfunded, or if their mandates grow faster than their budgets, it's inevitable that performance will suffer. The hearing demonstrated how difficult it is to address immediate concerns while also tackling the structural problems that keep resurfacing year after year. For everyday Americans, the implications of this debate are significant. These aren't abstract policy disputes. They affect things like processing times for benefits, the reliability of public health initiatives, the enforcement of consumer protections, and the maintenance of infrastructure. When agencies struggle, the impact shows up in people's lives, sometimes in ways that are subtle, and sometimes in ways that are impossible to ignore. That's why hearings like this matter. They give the public a window into how decisions are being made and whether lawmakers are genuinely working toward solutions or simply reinforcing partisan narratives. What stood out to me most is that both accountability and stability are essential, and pretending they exist in opposition to each other only makes progress harder. Real solutions require both transparency and investment. Oversight keeps systems honest, while funding keeps them functioning. The challenge for Congress is to navigate that tension without defaulting to the usual political talking points. Whether they will actually do that is another question, but at the very least, this hearing showed that the awareness of the problem is there. As always, the goal of this channel is to cut through the noise and look at what these political moments mean for people who don't have time to watch hours of hearings. I hope this breakdown helped clarify the stakes and the arguments being made. And now I'd really like to hear what you think. Did you find the questions from senators useful? Do you think the agencies offered convincing answers? Share your thoughts in the comments. Just keep things respectful, as always.